Howdy, y'all. A lot of things have changed since I've been gone, so today we're going to talk about the Stockland road grader. Mr. Sprocket, are you going to join us? You love road graders. So does Throttle. So does Crystal. Really? You're done for the day? You're probably wondering why we're talking about that old Stockland road grader. I did do a video about it before. It was only in the members section. About a year ago, a gentleman reached out and needed some dimensions and measurements to finish a salesman's sample model. And I have a conclusion to that video. He reached out while I was in Greenland. Yeah, I was in Greenland. More on that to come. But he has finished the model. So I thought I'd share this with everybody. This is a little taste for those of you that aren't members to see what the members get. They got a lot of exclusives, behind the scenes, stories about my deployments to Antarctica, a whole bunch of things that may be a little too spicy or I'm a little uncomfortable about putting on the public section. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this video about the 1916 Stockland road grader, and yes, Stockland became part of Caterpillar, so it's painted the appropriate colors. Tried to do a lot of research on this old Stockland grader, and nearest I can tell, there's virtually nothing on there, but this is kind of a unique piece of history because Russell and C.K. Stockland, well, they merged around 1903 to build pull-behind road graders, actually horse-drawn, of course, first, and then later to tractor-powered, self-propelled, tractor-pulled graders. This one shows the earliest patent at 1915, and this was still a horse-drawn road grader. It's kind of fuzzy, the history of C.K. Stockland. Nearest I can glean is that him and Russell were partners. It kind of fell apart, kind of like the Holt and Best partnership kind of fell apart and then came back together. I think C.K. Stockland and Russell were the same sort of thing. And for a while, Russell was making their own thing and Stockland tried to improve on it. I'm understanding that Stockland made them a lot more complicated and a lot more moving parts than the Russells may have had. At any rate, I've got a gentleman coming out today that has an original salesman's model of a Stockland grader. Now, there's been a lot of these salesman models. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of the Russell graders, but there's very few of the Stocklands. This is Jerry. He brought out a salesman's sample of our Stockland grader, and he's from Kansas, and he restores these old salesman samples. But he's here because he needs a few measurements because he's going to recast some of the wheels. Now, Sotheby's had one of these at auction years ago that sold for around $5,000. And this is the original wood deck on here. He needs to find out what this lever, or what this does, what the lever does, and get some dimensions for the wheels.
And how the rear axle mounts. I need to make a rear axle. I'm going to make all the wheels. I need to figure out how the wheels attach up in front. I'm just missing a few parts, so it'll be really great to see an original here so I know how to make my parts.
Well, we'll go out in the pasture and take a look, and it looks like, well, Mrs. Big Stripe, she's friendly enough. She might come out with us. And pardon the dogs in the background. They're excited to hear company out here. So that's been repaired up here quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've got all that.
Okay.
I just need... This is really helpful, Aaron.
Well, I'm glad I could help because I like to preserve the history of these things.
Too. I love the old history on this stuff.
And I would like to find out more about these. Yeah. They're just, they're a mystery. Well, here's that. Okay, so that wheel shifts your rear axle from side to side when you turn it on that gear and cog there. And they just got a piece of solid square stock under here.
And it slides in this.
Yep. Boy, that'd be tough to move.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And then they got a little locking gear cog here.
Yes, yeah. Mine's got that.
Jerry was just saying he's got a whole bunch of salesman sample road graders, and This one is by far the most complex, hands down, out of all of them. Figured out this lever here actually will cant this axle this way or this way, so that you could offset the grader and move the blade over here in a ditch. Looks like the moldboard on this is about 8 feet long. These were built in Minnesota. I don't know if Stockland, CK Stockland, was making these graders at the same time at the same plant and they were just a different design as the Russells. I'm really not sure on the history of that. If anybody knows, please leave it in the comments down below. We'd like to find out. We've actually found a couple things that are slightly different in this model and our grader over there. So this one, it looks like this is actually supposed to be facing down the other way into the axle that goes across here to move it back and forth. And ours has a wheel up here. This one doesn't. It works with this crank through this gearbox right here. And Jerry was just telling me that this was actually an attic find that somebody's grandfather had, and the grandkid sold it to him, so it couldn't have found a better home, because Jerry's going to restore this and make it look like new. They're very intricate models. Just fascinated by these little brass turnbuckles on here.
This arrangement is a little bit different, the way they rotate this one, than yours, but it's very, very similar. And this stuff's all the same.
They've got little springs right here, just like on the big one, for helper springs for lifting the blade. Completely working sales model. And these are your big tiller wheels, so that'll raise and lower each side of the blade. There's that big lever in the middle that lowers the blade completely. This is the lever that you pull, and once you get your turntable turned with this right here where you want it, you'll pull that lever and it will dog ear in to hold your turntable. And then you could, like I was saying on the bigger one, you could offset this axle and tilt it, and same with the front, and that way you could put your moldboard, your blade out further, maybe to cut the edge of a road or a ditch. There's a wheel right here for steering, and then this model has the one we're missing, which is this one that comes down, goes through here, and I believe that's what turns your turntable side to side, and ours is missing that. Everything here, all working. I'm gonna tighten that up, it's loose. But this is all original, screws, little bitty U-joints, and Jerry will take measurements off of our grader, and he's going to recast gears, wheels. He has some of the wheels at home, an original one to pattern off of for the back, but not one for the front up here. So he'll take measurements off of ours and then rescale them and make them. Look at that little U-joint. Wow.
These salesman samples, I think they're more complicated to make than the real ones.
Boy, it looks like it. And I can see it's like a cast pot metal, it looks like.
Well, I think this is all aluminum, cast aluminum.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, it might be. Well, I got a magnet right here. Yeah, it is aluminum.
I think it is. Aluminum and brass. Most salesman samples are brass that's nickel plated, and then just plain polished brass. Okay.
Oh, I see. So when you remake these, do you make them out of aluminum, or?
Yeah, I'll make it exactly. I'll make them exactly like original.
So you'll cast it and?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm crazy.
Well, we are too. Just bigger, heavier, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It was very nice to meet Jerry this morning, and I'm glad I could help him out so that he could get some measurements and dimensions to make that model complete. He's going to keep us updated on the process. On the Stockland grader, I did a little Googling to see what I could find out about the company, and I found a post made about 20 years ago by somebody that purportedly claimed to be a relative of the original CK Charles K. Stockland, and this was a nephew of him. And the only info he had is that he was born in Fillmore County, Minnesota, and worked for Russell Graders, and was a salesman for quite a while. And he went off on his own and produced the Stockland graders. Apparently Stockland was bought out by Caterpillar in 1930, so I guess they didn't merge back together, kind of like the Best Holt thing. I mean, essentially I think they both got bought out by Caterpillar, so yeah, they all ended up together. But in 1930 he sold it out completely, and then he went on to work for I think Minneapolis with Harmony Manufacturing, he says, and then tragically passed in 1932 when he had an accident and slipped and drowned in the Mississippi River. So that's awful and tragic, but at least this gives a little bit of history to the Stockland graders and machinery. It was really interesting to note the similarities between this grader and the model, salesman model that came out. So he's been restoring these for a long time. He has quite a collection of them, and most of them got thrown away. That's why they're so valuable when you do come across them. This hitch alone, it measures about 10 feet long just in itself. And this machine's relatively complete. We are missing one piece that goes through here. There should be another wheel right here. I think I had it backwards on the model, but there should be another one of these right here. This one here connects, runs all the way up here to turn the front wheels, which I'm guessing whatever you're pulling it with probably had a lot more control over which direction it was going than you turning the steering wheel through all this linkage back here. I think we determined that this lever here, this is the biggest, longest one, it's got two releases here, and I think one is a dog and the other's a catch. But this is the mechanism that lowers and raises the moldboard, the blade, and it's got those two spring assists that you could see on the model. Of course, the giant tiller wheels, you just turn those. The operator would stand and just kind of pull these up and down, and that would tip your blade pitch. And those are just a worm gear on this, and they come down here, and then that would bring the arm on each side of the ring gear down and tilt your moldboard. Steering wheel comes clear here. That's quite a long ways of linkage to make that work, and down that right there, and yeah, and you can see there's a crack in here, but it is I mean, that had to be a job in itself, just trying to turn that by hand. And you could definitely tell when tractors came along that they yanked on this, did a lot of damage. There's a lot of weld repairs in here. It's pretty cobbled up. In concept, it's virtually the same as graders today. Of course, there was a wood platform all across here. At some point, the plan is to get Lefty done and get Lefty out here and pull this thing around with Lefty. We want to see it pull. Ironically, as this sets right here, the salesman's models, if they're complete, they're worth about 3 or 4 times what this whole unit is worth. There it is, the Stockland grader and the model. Before you go, I gotta say thanks to Jerry for following up with me with the conclusion of his model and sending us some pictures to share with everyone. These are the hub spokes and rims for the wheels that Jerry had to make from scratch. And you can see it's obviously a labor of love. It's beautiful when it's done. And he even had to make some of the small wood deck pieces. Some pieces are brass. All of this handmade from scratch. Tiny lathes and little milling machines and a lot of hand filing in work. A couple thank yous. While I was deployed to Greenland, we got some tremendous super thanks. And I want to thank Tom, Lord Captain, Mr. Aaron, Cheryl, and many, many others for these super thanks donations. They really help the channel out, and they are very much appreciated. I also want to thank YouTube. This is their 20th anniversary, YouTube's 20th anniversary, and they sent some gifts, some gift certificates for Chipotle. I really enjoyed that. My wife loves Chipotle, so once in a while, as a treat, she'll bring it home from work. Many thanks to YouTube for not forgetting about us smaller creators. If you're not a channel member, you might want to check it out. I got a lot of stuff sitting on my desktop ready to edit, and man, Dad has been busy while I was in Greenland. Been curious on the length of this moldboard for quite some time here, so I'm gonna see if I can
Two hours later.
8 feet long.